Good afternoon, everyone. This is Matt over at milestonecgp.com. Today is Sunday, August 13th, about 2:30 in the afternoon. We've had a great week last week, some big moves to the downside on many things. I want to look at several earnings plays this week, but this is all going to be retailers. So I'm going to get to as many as big names as I can in a short amount of time, and I want to look at the daily and I want to look at the weekly so we can get a nice view on this. Okay, so I'm going to start right out here with Target, and Target is going to report on August 16th, and then I'm going to do Walmart, which is on the 17th. So let's get started here. Target right now has fallen from the upper Bollinger Band and has broke through the pivot EMA 8 and I'm sorry, EMA 9 and EMA 8. And it's finding some support along with the market. The market found a little bit of support, and I think that's why we have this bounce here. But something we would really want to keep an eye on for Target into the earnings is this gap here. It's going to be at 51.16, now the $4 lower, and that'll be at the lower end of the consolidation box. But you have a day to watch also, the trend line here. Keep an eye on that because we could get a spike down and then a push back up again. So basically what you want to do is you want to take your low, your last high and your low, which was resistance and support, and draw it across here, and that's your longer term consolidation. And you can see it goes all the way back over here, but it did break the consolidation box that this was in and went lower. So we could be starting a stepping stone to the downside, but also we do have the gap to the upside. So actually there's a couple of them, so I'm really going to have to keep an eye on this when it comes closer to the time. But you can follow our trades because I'm definitely going to be doing some retail trades. Let's take a look at the weekly just to get another view here, and then we'll move on to the next one. Weekly, let's get rid of this here for now so we could just see what we have. You can see we came outside. We came up to basically the top of the box here. We broke through pivot on the weekly, but we came up to upper Bollinger Band, and this is quite the pinch here. And so far, it's not pinching to the upside. It's going to make a move one way or another. The indicators are stating right here, RSI 14 and 5, get ready to cross to the downside, and the leveling off here. So potentially it's a 50-50 move on which way we go, but I do see a 51 or a 64, and we won't know until we're a little bit closer and see how it's trading. Then I'm going to go right into Walmart here. I'm going to start on the weekly and then drop it down, only because I love this one. I have this set up quite well with targets and trend lines and everything else here. So on the weekly, you can see you're getting ready to cross to the downside here. You got a doji on last week, or people call them different things, but you do also have the stow spread to the upside, but it really doesn't mean anything. It's a slow stow. It's not a fast slow, and you can see here it did drop right back down even though this was spread here. And at this point, you could see this green candle, we are starting to actually come down on this next candle on the weekly. So just something to pay attention to. We're also at the top of the box here, and that's what it's under right now. So Walmart's going to be on the 17th, very important, but we do have a doji. We are under pivot. We are at the upper Bollinger Band. So what are my lower targets? My lower targets is this gap at 79, at 75 here. You have all these candles acting as support, and down here you have a gap and a trend line down here at 71. So potentially this one can get hit pretty hard to the downside. And if I draw support candles off these low sides, because it's made a move lower from this candle, instead of trending to the upside, it's trending to the downside, and you can see everything is pretty much coming into this area right here. Whoops, let's get these up in that area. Everything's coming right back up into here, so definitely keep an eye on this one. Longer term target could be about 72. I don't see it blowing up to the upside. Take a look at the daily here. The daily, and then we'll go on to the next one here. So the daily, same thing, under EMA 8, under middle Bollinger Band. Came off of the top of the R1, R3 area. We have a little gap here, and we have another gap here, and then underneath consolidation, we have a gap in this area over here along with the candle support. So technically we should be coming down pretty aggressively. You can see how your slow stow's still above and getting ready to drop, and this is getting ready to drop. So Walmart could be setting up to drop. I'm going to do COH now. COH and DKS. Coach I like, it's potentially it's going to be going up. It's really holding a lot of support here and has moved, in this consolidation range for quite some time. Uh, Coach is going to be on the 14th with DKS, so just remember that. So you have an upper trend line here, and you can see it went for it. This is back at the daily, just to let you know. And you're slowly moving to the upside here. You got a cross getting ready to take place towards the upside or the downside. We'll have to see. But looking at the weekly, it'll be a little more defined for you. We have some great gaps here. We have the trend line on the top side and the trend line on the bottom side. So here's the top side, here's the low side, and just something to take note of. Your relative strength index is nice and high, and you have a nice gap here at 43.26, all right, which will hold top of consolidation for all this time here, which is no big deal. Just be a little reset if they miss. If they miss, I definitely see 43.26. You can see you're just getting right across on your weekly, and you had a big move all the way back up on the weekly, and you're pretty high right now with your relative strength index. So we'll go to DKS next. So technically, from my standpoint, it looks like it's going to head down. So we'll have to see what happens. DKS is just, yeah, this thing has just been getting pummeled. This is the weekly. And you can see the consolidation. Is right here, the low side here. Potentially, I mean, we're pretty low here, but if we take these last candles and draw it down here, I mean, this thing could really come into $20 based on the history here. Now, I don't know if there's any gaps or anything back here, but basically, this thing is looking very weak on the weekly, and on the daily. Daily, same thing. We're spread right across, heading down under the pivot here, outside the Bollinger Bands, but that doesn't really matter because you could see when we were tight here, then it pushed, dropped down, came back up. So spreading to the downside. The trend is to the downside pretty aggressively. But remember, the weekly's oversold, and we have upper gaps here to keep an eye on, 46, 47. So we'll have to see how they report. So there's potential here for either side, not as defined as the other two. So let's go to Home Depot. That's going to be on the 15th, and I'm going to start here on the daily. Beautiful trend to the upside. The last little bit of time, it looks like they're starting to they're front loading this one for earnings. One thing that I do see here is this trend line is going to be, since June, this trend line is going to be pretty solid here. As you can see, we came in with a red candle and it started to pull back. Your stow's getting ready to cross, and you're getting ready to cross here on the downside. But taking a look at a weekly, it should look pretty good based on those candles right there. So yeah, it held the middle Bollinger Band and is coming up. Had a little bit of resistance here. So if this does get going here, I would imagine we're definitely going to push this pivot. This R3 and break that. Something to keep your eye on here is going to be, all this resistance up here. They're going to have to beat pretty good though, because this is getting front loaded on the daily pretty heavy. Let's do one more. Costco. All right, Costco weekly consolidation, big time. Low side on the slow stow, but you are underneath your pivot. You're actually underneath everything right now, and you're consolidating. You can see your Bollinger Bands are really rounding to the downside, and your support is right in this area here. So we'll have to see what happens with this one. It looks like it could definitely break down or break up. If we do break down, look for this low side here of 29.14. But if we do break to the upside, I would keep an eye on upper Bollinger Band and these candles here for 34. So it looks like it's going to be a $4 move into earnings one way, or $3 or $4 move into earnings one way or another. But you just are going to have to keep an eye on the daily as we get closer towards the time frame. If they keep this up pretty high, then keep this pretty low with the relative strength index and everything. I would imagine that this consolidation box is going to be broken, and they're going to beat earnings and come up and get this gap right here and then test this area here. That's what the indicators are looking like to me, that we're holding support. We get a higher low right here. So you have this low here, you have a higher low here, and if I bring this all the way back here, you're going to see how all these candles line up perfectly. You hit there, hit here, hit here, hit here to a T. So they're trying to decide what's next. We are in, a triangle pinch, in my opinion, right here. We use the bodies of the candles. So you have this and this. So coming into earnings, it's going to be like right in this area here, and it's definitely going to make a decision on kapow or kaboom. So you're just going to have to keep an eye on this and see what happens. But anyone, my members will get my alerts. I will be trading these into earnings only because the setups are there. I'll give you my specific trades as we get closer pre earnings. So if you want to follow me, you can go over to milestonecgp.com. Actually, underneath this video on our main page here, you can just join up. It's $150 a month. You get all my alerts, all my trades, and everything from entry to exits, supports, charts, you name it. Really, I think we can make some big money on retail this week. Charts are set up really nice. They're all different charts. And also Baba's reporting, DE is reporting, Foot Locker is reporting, GPS is reporting, LB is also reporting, and URBN. And a good amount of those are all retailers this week, and a good amount of those I will be alerting. So just follow. It's a good time. You learn a lot. You can follow the charts and everything else for some great learning experience. So underneath this video on milestonecgp.com, you can just join up. Try it for a month. See what happens. It's only 150 bucks. It's no big deal. You're going to get tons of alerts, tons of tons of entries, tons of exit calls, the whole 9 yards. Have yourself a fantastic afternoon and a very, very lucrative week. You'll find more of my videos throughout the week, and I'll be posting them on the social networks and also on our main page. All right, this is Matt from milestonecgp.com. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the Sunday.